Good morning, everyone. It's Rhonda from Spirit Sessions, A View of the Light. We're back again, and I want to thank my co-hosts for carrying on when I was up in the high Arctic of Canada. Today is a super special day on Spirit Sessions. It's episode number 27, my favorite number, and we have Steve Nobel. I think he's just Nobel, anyways. And so I'd like you guys to all share this out and send it around to your groups, because this is going to be a very, very special Spirit Sessions. We've been looking forward to this since you said yes in April. At least I've had it marked on my calendar in big marks. So, Steve, welcome. And welcome to Spirit Sessions. Can you just give us a little bit of your background, because and tell us how you started this wonderful, I don't know what you call it, movement almost, I would say.
Movement. My background depends how far back you want to go. I was born in London in the late 50s. My parents were post-war, they were in the Second World War evacuees, and so they had that kind of post-war mentality, which was very 50s, very conservative, very traditional. My mother still had the kind of rationing mentality. You have to store a cupboard full of tins of something. And my father was a working class man. And here I was, from a young age, very interested in kind of alternative things. Although I didn't have the words for it, I was interested in all kinds of comics, which was allowed. My family allowed me to have comics and read about superheroes and all that. They were a bit more controlling around TV programs, what was acceptable. Anything magical or too mystical, they kind of blocked. I remember my father blocking Bewitched, which had in America. I loved Bewitched. He said, it's not suitable for you. And I'm like, why not? Right. My mother told me I only discovered this many years later, when she was in her early 60s, I think, that I was originally left-handed, and she switched the pen into the right hand.
I'm left-handed.
Yeah. And when I asked her about it, because I always got confused, because when I do the tests for left brain, right brain, it always comes out that I'm very strong right brain. But I use my right hand, which is usually a kind of left brain thing. And she said, when you were young, I just switched it. I kept switching it. And I asked her why. And it was just the done thing at the time, because left was seen as sinister. In
yes.
Latin, sinister comes from the left, the left. So this was a kind of strange mentality. When I was growing up as a teenager, I was getting more and more interested in spirituality, and they were not very happy about that. And this was a time when there wasn't really very much around, so I started feeling maybe there's something wrong. Why am I looking? What am I looking for? I wasn't sure what I was looking for. I remember going to Foyle's bookshop. Foyle's was one of the biggest bookshops in London at the time. Has like 5 stories of books, and I went to the kind of spiritual book section, and all I could find there, this was back in the early 70s, all I could find was books on yoga or the occult, and the occult scared me a little bit, and yoga, I did do yoga, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. So I was getting very frustrated. I dived into a number of things, macrobiotics. I did read a load of occult books, and eventually I kind of hit a block with it, thinking I'm not sure where I'm going with this or what I'm looking for. So I gave up. I decided maybe I'll be normal. This was my normal phase, trying to be normal. And then I tried to be normal. I got married. I worked in a normal job in the City of London in finance, and I did normal for probably about 15 years or so, maybe less, 14 years. I had 2 children. I did the married thing. I got a mortgage, and I had these 2 children, and who I adore still. But then at a certain point, the calling came again, and I had to, even though there was a lot of resistance from my ex-wife and people around me, I started to follow it. I had to do it secretly. I had to go to spiritual groups secretly, and I hid it from my now ex-wife, and she was furious when she found out, as if I'd done this really big betrayal on her. And so I was getting the calling, and then my father died, and this was really the pull back to spirit, really. And so nothing was really going to stop it. It was almost like I had no choice. I did separate from my wife, and then I went into this whole journey of awakening. So my first big awakening was the early 90s, where everything, all this magical stuff started happening to me. Synchronicity started happening, and I didn't have any word for flow or synchronicity, but it was happening, and I kind of, one thing pointed to another. It was really amazing, and I met a very amazing spiritual teacher who introduced me to all these other amazing things, including a place called Alternatives, which was an organization in London hosting spiritual authors in a church, a big Anglican church, very near Buckingham Palace. So it's a very prominent church. So I went there and volunteered as a volunteer. So I started sitting and helping at all these meetings. I remember the first one I saw was a channel called Ahnael, who's a channel, I'm not sure if she's around so much now. She's written a few books from America. Very loving channel, very beautiful channel. And then I heard a lot of other channeled material. And channeling was calling me. It seemed a bit out there, but something in the messages of these channels, I started following one called Lazarus, who's another American channel. He's not so much around either. And then Orin and Darben, other channels in America, but they're still very active. And I trained in something called Awakening the Light Body. So basically I was kind of flying out in the universe, kind of leaving the normal behind. And all my books started being, my bookshelves shifted from philosophy and history to spirituality and channeling. I got a load of channeled tapes in those. It was all tapes in those days. I was listening to them, ongoingly. I couldn't understand. My mind couldn't grasp a lot of what they were talking about, but my body was kind of getting something. So the idea, for example, that you create your reality, I thought was very intriguing, and I struggled with it. But somehow I knew it was genuine, and I kind of followed it, and I just. And the spiritual teacher I was working with was helping me to practically put it in practice, basically. And so this was great. My life was kind of accelerating more and more. I was kind of getting it. My ego mind was relaxing and kind of going with it, right? Because there's always when any spiritual journey, there's always an ego. Is this real? Am I being fooled?
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
That's
Whatever the
fear
ego.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we all have our own unique take on this weird stuff, this weird out there stuff. And the ego might be doubting. It might want to know. Very commonly, we need to know, is this real? It's a very common question. How do I know this is for real? So I had to ask myself this question. How do I know this is for real? But my body was said, just follow it. So I followed it. And my mind was still asking, how is this for real? Are you going crazy? And eventually I started getting the proof that I wanted. In various ways, my mind wanted proof and got it. I had to see it in the world. I had to see something shift that I knew that doing this stuff meant a difference. And so I started getting that. So my ego relaxed and went, all right, well, maybe it's okay. We can follow it. And so I started following it. And I dived into all kinds of things. I was a workshopaholic. I dived in shamanism, which I absolutely adored. And I dived into magic, And a lot of the transmission, a lot of the things I was pulled into now inform a lot of the transmissions I do. Because, for example, the transmissions are held in sacred space with 8 angels. And a lot of magical traditions and shamanic traditions have this directional form of magic. And so when I trained in witchcraft, I was training in witchcraft. I remember listening to someone absolutely appalled by angels. How can anyone possibly believe in all this Christian nonsense, And then I'd hear the other side, the kind of people who are following Yeshua and Mary, appalled by the dark witchy side. And I kind of thought they're both missing the point, because there's a golden thread through all these traditions that point to the same thing. And I wasn't going to be put off by people's judgments, even though people had some fierce judgments. Right? On not just the pagan side, Christian side, all kinds of groups had this is the right model of the universe. And I kind of thought, well, I get all these models. I'll just, like the Buddha had this story, which I thought was a great story. He said, a number of blind men are approached by an elephant, and they're all feeling a different part of the elephant.
Yes.
Do you know this story?
Yeah,
One
I
feels
just
the trunk,
used it this week. That's so strange. Yeah.
Right. And they're all getting the truth. An elephant is a long, thin snake-like thing. An elephant is big, flappy ear-like things, or an elephant is big, thick leg-like things. And I think all these spiritual traditions originate from powerful spiritual teachers that give a message that's fit for the culture. And they all go, well, this is the truth then. But actually, they're all pointing to this golden thread that leads to the same thing. All these religions that are fighting over God for centuries and still fighting are basically leading to the same thing. They just have different versions of it and different prophets who've said the same kind of message, and they're fighting over this truth. It's the kind of ridiculousness of the 3D matrix, really, which we can talk about. So I was diving into all these traditions and energy healing, and I just exploring everything. I became a director of alternatives in 2000, so I became a director of this company. So then I was able to shape it and move it and invite people that I wanted to invite. And I was also working magically in that organization, getting people that we really wanted to connect to, and finding a way to connect to them and bring them over. So we had lots of, Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way, Byron Katie, who does the work,
Yes.
Loads of American authors, loads of them. Deepak Chopra's been many times, he still comes. What's her name? Caroline Myss, the kind of mystic.
Yeah.
So I met Caroline a number of times, and she liked me. She said I was cute, which I thought was nice. So.
She's sweet.
But here I am doing all this stuff, and then my life I started getting another calling in probably around 2008, 2009, which manifested as tension because I was getting a calling to do something else, but basically I was happy in my new life, and I wasn't going to give it up. Whereas in my old life, I was unhappy, so it was easy to follow this calling because I was unhappy. But if you get a life which you're very happy with, and the soul goes, well, we want to pull you out of that happy life now. I say happy, but there was tensions in it. There was challenges. But I was basically, I was in my second long-term partnership. I was in my career with alternatives, which I loved. It was my family. And the soul's going, we're moving you now. And I'm going, no, I'm staying here. I'm not moving. And I resisted and resisted. And basically, when you resist the soul's calling, as some people may find out, it results in boom. My life went boom. The relationship collapsed. I couldn't actually work in alternatives anymore. I lost all passion for it at a certain point. Something internally exploded. I had a kind of Kundalini explosion, which I'd heard and read about these Kundalini things, but never encountered it. But it felt like an earthquake going off inside of me at a certain point. And at that point, everything started dropping away. It took a year for me to leave alternatives. My partnership ended after about a year, and I went into free fall, a dark night of the soul. And what I knew the theory of this was that if I'm going through this process, I'm probably going to come out the other side lighter and brighter. But the dark night was so intense and so difficult that I lost all feeling I had any meaning in life. I felt that I should just end my life. The pain was too difficult. All my relationships and friendships seemed to be dissolving. Nobody seemed to understand what I was going through. All the healing systems I trained in stopped working, and this was very worrying. My intuition switched off. My connection to higher self switched off. And I basically went into darkness, and darkness kind of meaning lower astral entity attacking me, psychic attacks. This went on for a long time, and I just thought I'd been abandoned by spirit. This was my feeling. And it lasted for about 4.5 to 5 years. A very long time to go through a dark night, really. It was not a pretty experience. But on the other side, I started to feel a shift. I started to feel the darkness leaving me. I started to feel I was coming out. It took a while. And then on the other side, I started to tune in to, well, what am I going to do? What is this shift all about? What am I meant to do? And the message that came back was ascension, Starseeds, the shift. And initially I had a couple of weeks thinking, can I do this? I'm not sure I've ever really gone into Starseeds, ascension, and the shift. And after a couple of weeks, I thought, well, if I resist this, I've already done that before, and my life didn't work out so well. So I decided, I went, okay, I'll do it. So I started running workshops on Starseeds and ascension. It was a very fast learning curve because basically my mind wasn't really up to speed with the whole thing, and I had to really download and ask, well, what is it I'm going to teach people or show people or help facilitate in people. And the first workshop I did on Starseeds, there was about 30 people showed up, and at the end of it, they all went crazy. We want more of this stuff. And I was thinking, well, I didn't think really I was delivering hardly anything, but they seemed to love it. So it's almost like I stepped on this magical place where whatever I said, people seemed to like. So I thought probably the depth of the dark night did something to my energy, cleared out a lot of stuff, so that I became clearer or lighter somehow, or a more open channel, because the channel kind of opened much more intensely. I was able to trust more of these downloads, and then they eventually started resulting in transmissions of all kinds of things, from goddess energies that's been on the earth for a long time, to star races, to vortexes, like the one that's up there now. There's the Syrian vortex, which is becoming very active at this time of the year. I started doing affirmation tracks and Ascension News. Ascension News is really just kind of my take on the world and the shift we're going through, which I don't expect anyone to believe as literal truth. It's my experience of it from my perspective, and a lot of people resonate with it. And I'm not trying to tell anyone this is the truth you must believe in. I want to give people a different perspective, a higher perspective perhaps. So now, for example, before this call, which is why we spoke about 45 minutes ago, and I said I'm going to go off and do something and come back. I was getting a download about a transmission that I had to do, and I thought I have to go and write it all down. And so I went in the other office and kind of wrote it all down as it was coming through. So I've got the template for another which is totally unexpected, actually. So I think if I have time, I might do that one this evening. But there are actually 3 other transmissions waiting to come through as well.
Wow.
One of them is the witches transmission, which is clearing the shadow of the witches' burning times, which is a very deep, dark one.
Oh, wow.
That
So
connects
cool.
to a lot of us, I think.
Yes.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of us here can connect directly to that.
Yeah, that's a painful.
Right
A number of starseeds have been through that one, and the other one is the dark magician transmission, which is clearing black magic and satanic energies from other lifetimes. So again, a lot of people.
Oh, nice.
So they're two dark ones, which are clearing the dark.
Right.
I think
Right.
I'm only able to do this because I went through the dark so much. If I hadn't gone through the darkness, I wouldn't be able to go there with people. And a lot of work I do now is clearing darkness in people's bloodlines and karmic Akashic records. But I can only do it because I've
Nice.
gone that far myself, you know.
You
And
have the experience.
Wow. Awesome.
I had some questions, Steve, if I could. Some from earlier, because I did a little broadcast earlier asking people from the audience their questions. They asked, do you believe that some human, this is from Andrea, I believe, do you believe that some human energy can be like black holes, like sucking other people into their energy? I think is what she meant. Like their energy sucks other people's energy, like kind of a human black hole.
Yes. There's a thing called portals, which maybe you guys have come across, and there are light and dark portals. So basically, a dark portal is an opening to a lower frequency dimension, and you can have an opening in a physical human energy field, or you can have an opening in a physical space. So battlefields may have portals. There are parts of the planet which have very dark portals. So for example, I believe countries like probably Iraq, Iran have dark portals. These are very ancient civilizations. So, and there's been ET interference in those countries for a long time. Not particularly light interference. I think other countries such as Israel and Palestine have probably got portals there. Which generates into fanaticism and war. Basically, if it's a portal over a country. If it's a portal in a house, you may have a house where there's been murder, or you may have a house with violent arguments, which can create portals over time. But you can have portals in the human energy field, and a portal in the human energy field may, for example, it can have more than one portal. If someone has a portal in their field, imagine imagine your energy field is like a house, and in that house there's a back door that you don't know anything about, that beings can enter, burglars or whatever. Now, you may have some beings which are not that bad, that just want to come in and nibble at your sandwiches or whatever and open your fridge. But you may have some other beings which are much worse. So in the universe, the multiverse, which is a number of dimensions, Earth is one dimension. There are many dimensions of the Earth, some of them much brighter and lighter, and some of them, or at least one of them, much darker. At least one is much darker. I don't know if there's more than one much darker. This has been a fairly dark dimension, but I think there's one dimension that's darker, which is a timeline some people might go and explore who are really into the 3D matrix and don't want to leave it. So these portals can go to other places, other dimensions. And if you've got portals in your energy field to lower astral dimensions, and the lower astral is really the kind of place where the collective, I'll say, evil of humanity is stored. If you think of the evil, and it's a loaded word, evil, but energies of deliberate hurt or harm, violence, war, abuse, slavery, all these kind of things, that is a kind of collecting place for all those energies. So if you've got an opening in your field to a lower astral dimension, you're basically opening to lower dimensional stuff, lower vibrational stuff. Now, things which typically open people up, their energy field up, would be addictions, tobacco addictions, alcohol addictions, drug addictions, sex addictions. These are kind of things that open you up to different types of entities, different types of lower astral. So if someone is addicted to alcohol and porn, and it actually, it happens that you got people in relationships, and one person starts to wake up and the other one is still in addiction to that stuff. Increasingly, the other person can't bear to be in their energy field because they're channeling, radiating lower astral stuff, and they will just be repulsed, and that will break a relationship. So and I actually lived in a house of Buddhists once, and one guy that I knew, a lovely guy actually, who used to meditate a lot, but told me he had an addiction to porn. And I said to him, how can you meditate for so long, go so deep into Buddhist teachings, and do the porn thing? Because I explained to him what he was doing. He's opening himself up. He did take it on board, and I think he did start switching it off. So you have to, if someone has got an addiction, they have to deal with the addiction. And once the addiction is handled, or at the same time, you could start closing these portals. But the person has to be open to it. There are ways of closing portals that involve, a lot of these angelic energies like Metatron, Michael, the higher self, and the I am oversoul. These energies can really help shut off portals in someone's field. Now, it's possible that you can do it. I have clients sometimes where their partner or someone they're close to has a portal in their field. But basically, it can only be shut if you ask their higher self for permission. And their higher self may refuse, actually. If they're going through a learning cycle around something, if the higher self refuses, you can't close it. If the higher self agrees, then they can be assisted sometimes to close it. But if they go back to the addictive behavior, the portal's open. And so literally someone can become a black hole. And another aspect to this is if someone feels, and usually people with portals will feel this, so disconnected from their inner light that they have to get their light from someone else. They'll hook into other people. So people with these dark holes feel not only that they have this connection to the dark, but they've lost all sense of the light. So they will start calling into people with light and draining them. And a lot of starseeds and light workers are empaths, and so they're very open and also very vulnerable to this kind of stuff unless they become aware of it and cut it off. So yeah, you don't really want to be called into a narcissist who's got a black hole or a number of black holes in their field. It's not a good... Does that answer it?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think more information than I could imagine. Wonderful. They had one more, because we were talking about, we haven't really got to it, What are the Starseeds mission right now? What do you think the Starseeds mission is right now to do?
Well, the Starseed mission is to reset the planet. This idea in the title, a global reset.
Yeah.
So the idea of a global reset, if you imagine, let's give the metaphor, the planet was a number of computer programs. And these computer programs were war, violence, slavery, blah, 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 blah. Separation consciousness. It's been going on for a long time. Basically, at some level, humanity's decided we've explored this enough. Personally, when I look at that, I just find it not only very painful to look at, but very boring. And I think, why would someone want to go around and around and around a lifetime and lifetime of that kind of pain and suffering? But some people will do it. And if it's part of their evolutionary cycle, they'll go through that to learn. Basically, the end lesson is, are you done yet? And they'll go, yeah, I'm done. Out. That's, for me, the end point. Have you had enough of that? If they go, no, I want more, they go, okay, fine. And then you go through it. There are lessons in the 3D matrix, but they're painful ones. Now, Starseeds, sorry, let me backtrack. Everyone on the planet is essentially a starseed of some kind, but the beings on the planet who have been here for a long time have forgotten their starseed nature. This planet was assisted in its evolution by a number of races, star races. One of the most prominent ones, probably in affecting human DNA, was the Pleiadian race, which is very similar to the human race. They're more advanced than humanity. So humanity was kind of uplifted, and the missing link between Neanderthal and what we are now, the scientists can't work that out. That was the Pleiadian intervention, helping humanity shift up.
Yes.
There have been other interventions since then. At some point, for some reason, humanity decided to explore separation consciousness, and this allowed in darker races that created darker interference. So the race that's been most prominent probably in that is a reptilian race, which has a long involvement with the human race. And it basically helped send the human race into the 3D matrix, separation consciousness, control, abuse, all of that stuff. And the global reset is a shift out of that now. Humanity's gone through enough of that. At some level, we've decided we're coming out. We don't want to do this anymore. And so the global reset is where starseeds have been incarnating into the planet. Starseeds are beings who have not had this long, difficult reincarnational history with the planet, because people who've been here a long time after the interference have been stuck here in this reincarnational cycle. They're not able to get out. Starseeds are more recent. They've come in, and a lot of starseeds have had incarnations. Some starseeds have been here for a while as pioneering starseeds, but a lot have coming here fairly more recently. And they're coming in to reset the planet. So basically the planet is reset in a couple of ways. One is light grids are changing on the planet. There's a new light grid forming in the Earth, which Cryon talks about a lot. If people are interested in the Earth one, Cryon talks about the crystalline grid of the Earth. This re-shifting of the old karma of the Earth. The old grid of the Earth is going, and there's a new grid forming, which means the old karma is leaving, and the new grid is pointing to a higher timeline, new frequency timeline. The other grid is an ascension grid, which is forming around the planet. This is really impulsing us from our sun, the central sun, light codes from the central sun, which are guiding this new process of shift. So these two grids are helping shift the planet. But basically the planet and humanity won't shift unless there are starseeds in the matrix, in their bodies, opening their energy field, shifting their DNA, connecting to these grids. So starseeds are like light viruses. They go into the dark matrix and they reawaken one by one in groups, and then they start popping, and then they start shifting the whole collective consciousness out of its dark matrix. But without starseeds, maybe the planet would shift, but humanity wouldn't shift. Humanity would be stuck in its old ways. So starseeds are incarnating into dark, all cultures around the world, some of them very dark. They go into all bloodlines, some of them very, very dark. In fact, a lot of starseeds go into very dark bloodlines, because dark bloodlines carry that history of darkness, abuse, etc., blah, 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 blah. So some starseeds, I mean, I went into a dark family. Dark, not that they were abusive as such, but there was violence and war and all kinds of heavy stuff in my family. Depression and being squashed down by the matrix, you know. A lot of starseeds I speak to have had physical violence, have had sexual violence, have had incest, have had all kinds of stuff. And of course, there's no guarantee that a starseed will survive such a family. You can go into these families and actually get overwhelmed. There's not like a cast iron guarantee that you will go in and transform it. It's the 3D matrix is dangerous and risky. So you go in, as long as you can survive the family and wake up, then you can begin to change the bloodline. But some blood starseeds don't survive childhood or don't survive adolescence. The energy is too strong. So the global reset is set when starseeds begin to they get this soul impulse to awaken. Usually, it's the starseeds first. Earthseeds don't get this impulse to awaken in the same way. So starseeds get this impulse. The soul is calling me. There's a light. There's something calling me. I don't know what it is. I'm confused. What is it? What do I need to do? I'm looking. I'm searching. I'm seeking. I'm finding. You know, in this day and age, there's so much resources now that it's not hard to find teachers. You know, dear Emily's out there listening somewhere of the Akashic Academy.
She is here. She's right on.
People like me, there are loads of channels now. Channeling was really a phenomenon that started in the early 1900s with probably Alice Bailey was one of the earliest channels that we know. Or Madame Blavatsky was probably another channel from the Theosophical Society. But they were coming into very dense, and their messages were very kind of deep and, you know, and not always easy to understand, actually, to be honest. I've read all the Alice Bailey's books, and I probably understood 10% of it, really. But then there were other channels that started coming in the 60s, particularly Seth from Jane Roberts. Yes. Brilliant.
Yes.
Amazing. If people have not heard of Seth, go find Seth, because this material was just phenomenal. And I came across The Nature of Personal Reality, which is the one I recommend. Or there's another, Seth Speaks is a good one, but The Nature of Personal Reality is a brilliant book. I mean, so deep, I've read it 10 times. I still probably don't understand all of it, you know. And then I came across a channel, Lazaris, who started channeling in the 70s in America. Lazaris, brilliant channel, not quite as well known. And then another one, probably in the early 80s, maybe Orin and Darben, again in America. Brilliant channels, and there are loads of them around. You have to be very discerning with channels because not all of them are clear, but the clear ones are brilliant. And then Cryon I found in the the mid-2000s, I think I found Cryon. So all this channeling started to come. So there's a lot of material now. So Starseeds, you know, there's loads of stuff out on YouTube. So there's no reason to be isolated. People can find material now much easier than when I was waking up. So Starseeds are here to wake up. They're here to lead the consciousness. You only need a small percentage of people to shift, and the whole consciousness of humanity could potentially shift. So we're in an exponential spiritual revolution now, because probably on the planet you've got 1% of starseeds leading the way, and everyone else being shaken and, oh, what's happening? And it's all out there now, you know. And the difference between a starseed and an earthseed is, if you talk to someone about ascension or star races or spiritual revolution or evolution, their eyes may light up, even if they're not sure about it or they don't know. Whereas an earthseed would go, "You are simply crazy. I don't know what you're talking about." That's a test. Look someone in the eye and tell them, you know, there's angels and stuff. Even if they don't believe you, they might be interested, but an earthseed will not. They'll go, "Oh my God, I'm really worried about you. I'm worried." That's the difference. I mean, I had this young woman sit on the settee with me after I did a workshop, and she said to me, "So you're the guy who does all this starseed stuff, aren't you?" And she had her arms crossed like this, you know. And she was looking very skeptical, but she was very interested. And I could talk to her. I could see she was interested, even though very skeptical. And she kept asking me these very academic questions. How do I know? What's the proof? And all that. But something I knew that she was interested in. She became a devotee following me around for workshop after workshop.
Nice.
Whereas an
Awesome.
Earthseed would not. Earthseed would go, are you mad?
Yeah.
Are you mad? My ex-wife says to me, what cult are you in now?
Oh,
Classic statement.
it's okay, dear. We're resetting the planet for you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's that billion points of light. Who thought you'd ever repeat that program?
So Starseeds, I should say that Starseeds are here with different missions. They're not here with the same mission. There are different groups of Starseeds, and a lot of Starseeds are light workers, DNA transformers, magicians, alchemists, healers, all of that. And, we're probably these kind of types. And you'll find them around healing centers, learning centers, all of that. There are Starseeds that are really, really focused on community and earth, ley lines, and, living off grid, and they're obsessed about it, So there are those types who really want to come to heal the planet. There are those who come to work with technology, Steve Jobs types, Tesla in the early, there's a modern day Tesla and the old Tesla, these Starseed types. They've come with innovation technology. There are creative Starseeds that want to spread the message through music. Music's a big one, Bowie and Lennon, John Lennon, these types. Their music is revolutionary, and they can transmit it through music, There are direct awakeners who directly awaken through, like me talking about Starseeds, and people go, ooh, that's interesting. There are also system busters, which is a very brave thing to do. System busters are the whistleblowers and the crypto warriors. Edward Snowden is a classic whistleblowing Starseed. If you look at him, he looks like an angel. And he's sacrificed everything to put the message out there about what the dark are up to. And really, whistleblowers was only a phenomenon that came up really fully about 2012, 2013. It started to erupt. Julian Assange and all these people wanting to reveal the dark side, what they're up to, are not liked, and the dark are after them. Want to shut them down, lock them in the embassy in London, or shut them in Moscow, and not let them be heard, and all this kind of thing. The beings that have run this planet know about Starseeds and do not want them, and are doing everything they can to shut them down, practically and energetically. So it's not that the dark forces are stupid. They know what's going on here. So we just have to be a bit cleverer than them. And also we're aided by the fact that the world is changing, and there's nothing they can do about it, really, even though they're doing everything they're trying to do everything they can. So anyway, there we are. That's the Starseed thing in brief. I could go on for another 3 hours about that, but there we are.
Can we get I know we're running short, and we have so many comments. I don't know, Bex, if you can have any. I mean, they're all, like, I've been...
There's so many. Yeah, we have 46 people on with us right now, and let's see. Andrea says she got validation. She's not crazy.
Yeah, you're not crazy.
No, Andrea, you're not.
Yeah, and Wendy Wilkinson Reynolds says, so Steve, are we doing this work during sleep? Are we supposed to be doing something while we are awake to assist? Yeah, there's a lot of people coming on asking questions and being happy to be here.
Well, the sleep thing, a lot of people are working in their sleep state, and the more awakened you become, the more you're doing it, even consciously. I sometimes wake up from my sleep exhausted, thinking, what have I been doing?
Right.
Where have I been going?
Yes.
There's a lot of work to be done. And of course, sleep needs to be about rest and rejuvenation. And we can, in the sleep state, go to healing temples of light. And it's probably a good idea not to be just working hard in the 3D matrix. We need times where we go to the higher planes to recharge and rejuvenate and rest. But certainly sometime we'll be going deep in the matrix, clearing and healing, helping souls pass over, clearing darkness in lands, depending on what your mission is, So a lot of people may be doing an ordinary job in the daytime and then going to sleep and doing all kinds of deep energy work, Yeah.
Can we get a little bit of a meditation from you? I know maybe 10 minutes, and I know we're going over time, but we got permission to do that. We won't run into Andrea's
Yeah, we
time.
got permission.
I mean Kathy Holmeyer's time. So.
All right. Okay.
So we'll.
All right then.
That permission. So if everybody wants to get ready, Steve's going to do his magic.
Woo. So, all right, then let's see what wants to happen. So if you close your eyes, open, soften, breathe, and relax. Open, soften, breathe, and relax. And with your breath, imagine that you can breathe light in from the universe around you, 360 degrees in all directions, light from the stars into the body of bone and blood. And anywhere you're holding lower frequency energies in the bones of the body, release with light from the stars, release back to the universe, allowing more of your own light to return to you, more of your own light to return to you. Breathing in light into the bones of the body, all joints, all vertebrae in the body. This is where we can hold other people's energy. Release back to the universe. Release family, bloodline energies. Releasing friends, colleagues, clients' energies. Anywhere in the 3D matrix you've taken on or absorbed energy that's lower than your own natural energy, release. Call more of your own light back to you. Starlight into the body. Starlight into all organs of the body. Heart, lungs, all digestive organs, liver, kidneys, spleen, gallbladder, pancreas, bladder, all organs. Anywhere you're holding other people's energy, release back to the universe. Release all lower frequency energies. Call more of your natural light back to you. More of your natural light back to you. Soul's light in the organs of the body. Starlight in the body. Starlight in the body. If you breathe starlight into the digestive system, and often we hold a lot of energy from the 3D matrix in the digestive system, shock, trauma, or stress, or lots of emotional energy can get held in the gut of the body. With starlight, release all lower energies in the body. Call more of your own authentic light back to you. Release all shock, stress, or trauma, particularly from the bloodlines. If you're holding any energies from the bloodlines, release, held in the digestive system. Release all shock, trauma, or stress, or repressed emotional energy in the digestive system. Allow more light to return to you. Allow more light to return to you. Light in the reproductive system. For women, in the womb and uterus. For men, in the hara and testes area. Light. If you have any sexual energy belonging to any past partner or intimate relationship, dissolve all of that in starlight. Release all cords, all threads in the reproductive system. In the sacral area, particularly that chakra, release all cords, front and back. Dissolve. Give permission to dissolve all cords with starlight in the body. And as we release all this energy from the body, call more light back to you. More of your higher soul's light. More of your higher soul's light. More of your higher soul's light. I ask your I Am presence to be with you. The I Am presence is the oversoul, which is above the higher self, a higher frequency of light, the I Am presence. I ask your I Am presence now to assist you in fully releasing all karmic interference in this 3D matrix, all karmic cycles, timelines, paradigms, frequencies and universes, all attachments and bonds, all carbon-based density, preventing the full engagement of your pure crystalline light body and solar Christ consciousness now. Release anything that no longer serves your higher will, Gaia, your spiritual path, and the evolutionary ascension process. Release. Allow the I Am presence to return more light to you. And within this, there are two grids on the planet now. Two grids on the planet. One of these is the crystalline grid of the Earth. Gaia herself is ascending, and there's a crystalline grid of the Earth. Imagine with your breath, you can invite that crystalline grid up in the room, up through the feet, a crystal white light up through the legs, up through the torso, anchoring that light into the heart. Anchor the light into the heart. As you do so, the base chakra opens as a great sphere of light. The base chakra opens as a great sphere of light. Breathe, open, soften, relax. And as you do so, the sacral center opens as a great sphere of light. Great sphere of light, sacral, opens. The solar plexus opens as a great sphere of light, opens as a great sphere of light, opens. and the heart opens as a great sphere of light, and anchor the light of the earth in the heart. Allow all chakras from the heart downwards to align with this grid of the earth, to open, align, clear, expand your energy field from the heart downwards. Breathe, breathe, open and relax, aligning your energy with the highest frequency of the earth from the heart downwards. And there's one other grid that comes from the stargate of the sun, from the central sun, the ascension grid of light. Imagine inviting that light down into the room. Golden white fiery grid into the room, down through to the top of head, down through the head, down through neck, down to the upper chest, anchoring into the heart. As you do so, the crown chakra opens as a great sphere of light opens. And the third eye opens as a great sphere of light opens. The throat chakra opens as a great sphere of light opens. And anchor that light in the heart. Allow all the chakras from the heart upwards to align with the ascension grid of the earth. Allow light to pour into all these chakras, aligning, clearing, expanding. These two grids meet in the heart. Meet in the heart. I ask your I Am Presence to integrate all of these energies coming through the grids in the highest and best effect, aligning all of your energy bodies, chakras, meridians, nadis, cells, DNA, subatomics, all layers of the light body to these new frequencies. And all you have to do is open, breathe, soften and relax. And allow these two grids of light to work their alchemy within you. Alchemy within you. Within these two grids is awakening. Within these two grids is DNA shifting, expanding, evolution. Allow this light to go deep into the cells of your body, deep into the very DNA of your body. The DNA of your body, light, opening, clearing, expanding, aligning, awakening the DNA. As the DNA awakens, more of your higher psychic abilities open. More of your higher chakras open. Ones beyond the head, beyond this universe, open. Aligning you with your multidimensional nature, open. And breathe and allow the light to do its alchemy within you. The two grids of energies. Two grids of energies. And this process may continue for a little while after this meditation, just allowing the light to work its magic within you. And when you're ready, you can begin to pull your energy back in. Pull your energy back in. You can release the energy of the grids to whatever extent you wish to, so that you can function in your normal 3D, 4D matrix, doing your job and reading the books and having tea with your partner. But still maintain some connection to both grids, your connection to the I Am Presence, and all the helpful forces in the universe, seeking to help you in your awakening, your ascension process. And breathe, and allow, open, soften, and relax. And there we are. There you have it. This is my quick 10-minute fixer-upper, fixer-you-upper.
That was so
Beautiful.
good. Yeah.
Was I within 10 minutes? I'm not sure if I was within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I
Oh,
went
cool.
out. I lost my
Oh.
Wi-Fi.
Gone too.
So.
I was just gone.
Oh, put you all
Yeah.
to sleep.
No.
Very
I just
good.
made it back. That was beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to go back and watch that. That I got chills when I came back in. It's like, woo.
Yeah, that was
Awesome.
great. Rhonda, your microphone's on mute, just so you know. I know you were talking.
That's even better.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Steve. And we hope we can ask you back again because
Yes.
Sure.
just love to have you back again.
Thank you.
Teresa, did you have any announcements? Sorry.
I did. I had a
take
few
away-
announcements. And I'll get through them quickly for everyone. Hey, in like 10 minutes, watch Kathy Homeyer and her show, Nourish Your Multidimensional Body. Tonight we got Janelle Cameron and her show, Cosmic Ascension. It's 8 Eastern time, and I think that's 5 Pacific time. And last week we did an amazing fundraiser for the Blue Heart Animal Sanctuary. We raised $2,000. I want to thank everyone who participated, everyone who auctioned and bought the auctions, and it was beautiful. Thank you for that. And we have a YouTube channel. Rhonda works diligently and downloads all these amazing meditations and things onto our YouTube channel. So be sure to go like it and check it out there. And we've got the Akashic Academy magazine. Go to the akashicacademy.com and get your own copy of the magazine and have some positive readings going on, and it'll be good for you. And I want to announce the winner for who shared it out the most last week. Marla Torres, woot woot, and you won a session with Rhonda. Whoever shares this one out the most wins a session with me. So share it out, like it up, you guys. Let's get this word out here. Let's show everyone. Let's find all those starseeds who want to know.
Yeah,
So thank
great.
you all.
Thank you, Teresa. And I wanted to mention that all Steve's contact information is in the form blurb. His YouTube channel, like and subscribe to it. You'll never regret doing that. And he also has a great webpage where you can get a free download ebook, and it's thesoulmatrix.com. The link is in the comments as well. And sign up for his e-letter there. And he's got some courses going on, all sorts of stuff. And I really like to come over and go to the Glastonbury one, but I had to go to the High Arctic instead.
Oh, next Glastonbury retreat is last weekend in November of this year. We do twice a year.
Ooh.
So if you fancy that.
Do
At
it,
some
Rhonda.
point, I'm going to come to the States. I know I'm going to come over there. I was in Shasta in 2016, but I think I'm going to come over the East Coast and the West Coast to do something. Because most of my clients are in America anyway, so
Yeah.
you should come over.
We love the accent. We love
I'd
the
love to
accent.
see you in Toronto. That would be a good place, but
Oh, okay.
even better Ottawa because it's nicer and it's closer to me. But yeah. And it's beautiful. Ottawa is beautiful.
Great.
Get a direct flight. Yeah, right to
All right.
Ottawa. Awesome. Thank you again.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
everybody.
this.
Share it out and watch the replays because it'll be a great one. Thanks.
Send me a link to it. I'll pull it around. Yeah.
I will too.
Woohoo.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Thank you all.